Hey, Joel Palant, fun episode of the Anthony on Air podcast today. Cuddles will be our special guest host. We're going to be talking about Tiger King. We just finished the entire series. I may have changed my mind on what I think about it. We'll fill you all in. We'll do a non-spoiler section, and then we'll follow that up with some spoilers. So if you haven't watched Tiger King, you can still get some content in there. And if you just want to keep watching the whole thing anyway, you want to skip watching the show altogether, we'll fill you in on some of the things that happened during the show, so at least you can follow along with the memes that are most likely popping up on your social media feed. So Tiger King with Cuddles in segment 2 of the podcast. Segment 1 is going to be a special chat with Sean, who started a Facebook group during quarantine called 8 O'Clock Shot. It has grown to 27,000 members just since quarantine began. It's a short period of time. In fact, it grew 2,000 members since last night. So we're going to talk with him about what he's doing and what makes the group so special and why you are probably going to want to join as well. If you're listening to the podcast on all the podcast networks, thanks so much for doing so. Know that we have video portions to go along with it on Facebook and YouTube. Find us on Facebook, Anthony on Air Podcast. Make sure you guys follow and like our videos. If you prefer YouTube, we're there, Anthony on Air. Just search and find us. Hit the bell to get notifications and like our page so that you know when we go live and put up a fresh episode. Let's start with a little bit of a question that you could throw in the comments here on the video portion of the site. And that is, did you watch Tiger King? What did you think about it? And would you consider watching it if you haven't already, based on how many people are talking about it? So Tiger King question here. Did you watch it? What did you think if you did? And if you haven't watched it, you know, based on everybody just talking about it like crazy and it trending, it's number one trending on Netflix right now. Are you going to watch it? Are you going to jump in on the hype? Has peer pressure gotten to you? Or are you going to check it out because everybody's talking about it? Let me know in the comments below right now. All right, let's go to our first segment and talk with Sean, the founder of the 8 O'Clock Shot Facebook group.
I just want to say I'm a big fan of, when you're over at EHM, and I think I've seen you a few times at some functions over at Barbecue in Patchogue. So.
Oh, very good. Yeah, was I nice to you?
What's that?
Was I nice to you?
I believe so. If I met you, it was very brief. So yes, you were.
All right, cool, man. Well, I appreciate you taking some time for this. For everybody who's listening on the podcast or watching on Facebook or YouTube, Sean is one of the founders of the Facebook group 8 O'Clock Shot. And I was invited to join, I believe, by Ethan, who's a rock star. Ethan's been around since the beginning of time for me. Did a lot of stuff with me back in the day. And just an overall great dude. And he kind of brought me in, and I looked at the group, and I saw a bunch of people from Patchogue that I knew. You know, a lot of the guys from Miles to Dayton had some videos on there. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, all right, I'm in. I'll join this group. And even from last night, I looked at your numbers from last night. It was 25,000 people were a part of the group. Today, it's 27,000 people. So you guys are growing at a ridiculous rate. But let's start at the beginning. Tell me when 8 O'Clock Shot started.
Okay, so it really was born on St. Patrick's Day. Was hanging out with a small group of friends. We were having a small, obviously social distancing get together because obviously all the bars had been closed about I believe 2 days before that. And at some point, I think my friend yelled out, I think we should do an 8 O'Clock Shot. And I said, well, it's 8:03 now. So then he yells, well, I think we should do an 8:08 shot, which was really funny. And then, of course, we did our shots and this and that. And I figured the next day we could correct the fact that we missed 8 o'clock. And then I was posting it on Facebook, and I just thought the way it kind of rolled off the tongue. So then every day I would get likes. And then the following Monday, I just made it into a group. And, I made Ethan and another friend of mine, Jimmy, admins, and they're a little more social media savvy than I am. And then it really kind of took off from there.
That's unbelievable. So, on top of doing the show here on the radio and doing a podcast, I also do marketing on the side for people. It's my little side hustle. And I want to just tell you how incredibly difficult it is to start a Facebook group and organically grow it to 27,000 people in just less than 2 weeks.
It's actually, it was a week today. I made it a group.
So in a week, dude, it doesn't.
It's blowing my mind too, brother. It really is.
It doesn't happen. Like it's non-existent. It doesn't happen. It's incredible. So
you're telling me I'm a unicorn, huh?
You are a unicorn marketing genius, my friend. You say you're not social savvy, but I think you are, and I don't think you know it. Give people the background on 8 o'clock. So I know you said how it came about, but what's the philosophy? What's the thing that's been getting everybody in? Are you guys legitimately doing shots every night at 8 o'clock?
Well, me and my friends have been, keeping up to the spirit of the whole thing. I think I'm going to have to take a break tonight. It's kind of getting to me. And actually, it's really not about the consumption or doing the shot. It's got nothing to do with doing an actual shot of whatever your favorite spirit is. Or you can be a beer. You can just show us a coffee. And originally, I just said, show up every day at 8 and give us a thumbs up. So everyone knows that you're okay. And here's these other people. We're all in the same boat. Just trying to make the best of a really bad situation.
So really, it's more of like a show up at this time, post a photo of yourself doing whatever, having a shot, having coffee, having dinner, giving a thumbs up, whatever it is, contribute during this time, and we can all get together and comment and just be in this group together at the same time.
Exactly. I don't want to, because, I can't expect everyone to be a degenerate every day at 8 o'clock. And
yeah, no, you can't. But you could try. One can try.
You could try. I mean, now we got all of April now. I mean, this is going to be rough.
It's true. Yeah, I know we do. And certainly the news is going to get a little rougher. So feels like we might need 8 o'clock shot more than ever. Now, I was invited by Ethan. How are you still like just open arms accepting people, or how can one person get involved in the 8 o'clock shot group?
Well, I've had some people ask me if they can make it if I can make it private, which I totally understand, because when this thing is over, we're all going to have to go back to work and to our regular jobs, and there's always people out there that can judge other people about what they've done or this and that. But as of right now, I've kept it public, and I've done that since the beginning. And then anyone on there can invite any one of their friends. I believe there's a 10-person limit per person, but at this number right now, exponentially, it's really increasing.
I mean, it's crazy. And what's nice about it too is, and this should be pointed out, it seems like it's a free-for-all, anything goes except politics, which I think is, by the way, that's also the rule for my shows. No politics, because that's just divisive for people. This is kind of like a little safe haven where people can get a little goofy and a little funky and not have to worry too much about it. Exactly.
And I have a couple of admins, two of them, my friend Andrew from the Army, and my dear friend Kelly, and they're my two, they're my vultures. I got anybody puts up politics, it's out of there.
Yeah, well, it's just good, and it's nice. We need an escape right now. We need a place to kind of just chill out and talk to people and keep the humor going. And you don't really get that on your normal feed, because at any moment somebody can post something and it's like, it's depressing. You don't want to be bothered with that, Well,
I made that point last night. I put up a post. I'd rather be on my group thing right now than my regular feed, because I know I'm not going to see anything political.
Yeah, it's true. And
right now, Anthony, it's a bad time for it too. I mean, anyone who has their opinion, left or right, about what's going on or who's handling this well, amongst our leaders. It's not helpful anyway. So.
Yeah, because they're going to lead and we have to follow. They're already there. Nothing's going to change in the next month or so. So you got to hope for the best for them. So you might as well just be in and having a good time. I love it. The memes are great too. I was just looking at one that somebody posted, which is, what is your isolation cocktail name? And it goes by first initial and birthday month. And mine would be Droopy Pool Cleaner. So that's nice.
Well, do you have a pool?
I do not.
Well, you're gonna have to get a pool sometime in the future. Then that's great.
Yeah, some of these are good. Saggy nipple. Let's see. My wife would be the screaming G-banger.
Hilarious.
It's good stuff, man. Is there? No. So, do you have any hopes for this thing, or are you just kind of having fun, going along with the flow?
Well, obviously, I'd like to keep it up and running from here on out. We're going to get out from under this thing, and hopefully the next, I would say, month and a half. I'd like everyone that's on there to stay, and we'll just take it from there. We'll see.
That's awesome, man.
Hell, I need a job, so maybe I can run this thing for a living.
Hey, well, if you need help on figuring out that, I could probably help you with that part of it. That's for sure. I just love it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I just see some of the conversation, like, where's everybody from? And there's 196 people chiming in, just talking. Well,
I'm trying to make every day some kind of cheers to the people out there that have to go to work still, the actual essential people, because they don't have the luxury sometimes of an 8 o'clock anything. So I try to say a little shout out to those people, and then I'm trying to I'm going to have a show your pet day. I know some people have already started that. I'm just trying to keep it a little fresh each day, just to keep everyone engaged.
I love it. You said you weren't social at the beginning of this conversation, but you've got it down pat, my friend. You got something going on here. People are, I'm looking at another.
Well,
go ahead.
I'm 53 years old and I've been paying attention for most of those years. So
people are looking for cocktail suggestions and people are asking what other people are just having that night. It's become a thing. I've been preaching this, on my shows, on my podcast too, which is this is a terrible time. It's going to be rough on a lot of people, but it doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world. You can use it to relax a little bit more, spend more time with family, connect with family, do all those things,
Right. I believe I saw a doctor on the TV the other day, and he said the real numbers that are affecting people is going to be depression, more so than even the virus.
Right.
Because you're isolated, you're worried about your future. You may or may not have a job to go back to. So I'm just trying to keep something that everyone will have one thing to look forward to each day, and keep it a little lighthearted, and not everything doom and gloom, because that doesn't help anything.
It really doesn't. I love it, man. I've been a part of the group for just a few hours and I'm already enjoying it immensely. So thank you for starting it and keeping it rolling. Now, let me ask you a question. Can we kick Ethan out? Because I'd love to do that right away.
I'll keep an eye on him. It's funny because it was only like maybe 48 hours old, and then you get a message from him. He was almost begging me to be an admin. I'm like, all right, just let me know what you're doing, so run it past me. And then he went ghost on me. I'm like, well, I made him an admin, and I haven't heard from him in a week. But now he's hitting the pavement.
Now, was there like a day where was there one day where it grew out of control, or has it been a steady growth the whole time?
Well, like I said, when I put those two guys on the admin, and they kind of it was a settings thing, really. They opened up a couple of settings that were keeping it from really taking off, which I didn't know about on Facebook or whatever. I'm working this all from a phone, so it's a little difficult. So yeah, like probably right around those 2 days when it went from, I'm going to say maybe to 2,000 to 10 grand in maybe 3 days. That was the real surge.
Yeah. It's crazy to see, man. All right, well, listen, Sean, we got to have you back on to continue to track the progress and, suggest some cocktails for us in the future. How's that sound?
Awesome, Anthony, and thank you.
All right, there's Sean, the founder of the 8 o'clock shot group. How crazy is that little group? I like what they're doing over there. We need fun. That's why we kicked off the podcast again. That's why, I was probably going to take another week or so to get it back. And I was like, we got to do it now. We can't really wait because we need distractions. We need fun. We need conversation. We need that contact still. So that's awesome what he's doing. We'll put links and everything on all our social channels. Every time we put out an episode, we're putting a blog post up at anthonyonair.com. So I'll put the link in there as well. So you guys can check that out and join the group, 8 o'clock shot group over there on Facebook. Really, really cool stuff. All right, Anthony on Air podcast. Special guest host with us today, as you can see, is Cuddles. Hello, Cuddles.
Hello.
You look great. You were worried about how you look. This is quarantine look. Everybody looks the same. All the celebrities are going no makeup for quarantine time. So.
Well, I go no makeup every day, so.
Also, the kids are there.
Different.
So the setup is I'm up in the studio upstairs. Cuddles is downstairs with the kids. So you will be able to hear the kids throughout this segment of the podcast. So just keep that in mind.
Yes.
We're here to talk about Tiger King. So I think we're going to do non-spoilers first, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the show.
That's hard.
Well, we'll just a little so people can get a feel for it, and then when we start talking about specifics, we'll let everybody know so they can skip that portion of the podcast. When on the last episode, I was talking to Frankie C, and we were talking about Tiger King, and I said that this was a train wreck type of thing, and I didn't really enjoy it. And I didn't really think that people needed to see it. Now, we were, 3 episodes in at that point or 4? We broke after 4.
We did 4.
Yeah. Okay. So we watched the first 4, and that's kind of how I felt. We watched the last 3 last night after the last podcast. So I will say that after watching the complete thing, I've changed my mind a little bit. I feel like it's worth people watching, but I still feel like, and this is a hard critique for me to say, I still feel like our son is yapping up a storm. Is he counting?
No, he's saying our address. Get your Kindle.
All right, might have to bleep that part out. That's so funny.
You can't understand him.
He learned his phone number and his address in the last couple of days, so he's just randomly practicing it. All right, buddy. All right, you can tell him.
Okay. No, he's doing it funny, so you can't understand him. Right. I don't know what. Okay,
I'm gonna have to edit this part. So after watching the final 3 episodes, I'm backing off of my first claim and saying that it is definitely worthy of watching. It is really, it's good. It's still watching a car crash on the side of the road, though. It's still Carney-like. It's still Jerry Springer on steroids. So there is an element of sadness when you're looking at these people and how they live their lives and how they all wound up. But I will say, in a time that we need distractions, it is endlessly entertaining.
Oh, yeah. And the memes that are just being created and everything are just fabulous. That's
the thing that we were talking about on the last podcast episode, was that things get certain things get so huge that you have no choice but to take part in them, or else you are going to miss out on cultural interaction for the next 3 months. We're going to be seeing Tiger King memes.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We're already seeing a ton of memes. Hi, Cece.
Okay, hey.
Now I know how Fallon feels doing his show from home. Yes, sweetheart.
He said, yes, sweetheart.
All right, so overall, Cuddles, would you strongly suggest that people watch this? It's entertaining enough.
Write it to Daddy?
100%.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Everyone has to watch it. Has to watch it.
Can we die louder?
No, I can't make Daddy louder, monkey.
Can we die louder?
No, I can't, Mama. I'm sorry.
You want Daddy louder? I gotta hear him.
You got to hear him, but
Why don't 2-year-olds respect Tiger King reviews? That's what I want to know. What's their problem? All right, so that was the non-spoiler part. We'll get into some spoilers now, and I actually have some breaking news for you, Cuddles. I don't know if you know yet.
what?
Tiger King, it was just revealed, Vanity Fair had the scoop. Tiger King. Now, what did I say after the show last night when it ended? What was one of the first things I said about Joe Exotic and his music?
Mommy, I know this spot.
That he didn't sing his stuff. That's not really his
Vanity
voice.
Fair confirmed today that he did not indeed sing on his albums. It was somebody else who sang for him.
Who? Stop.
I don't know, but they have the article. It's up on vanityfair.com right now. Tiger King, Joe Exotic's wild homemade music videos. We found the men who really sang the songs like I Saw Tiger and Here Kitty Kitty, which are some of the titles. But after some light internet research, Vanity Fair concluded that the mystery musicians responsible for Joe's tracks are Vince Johnson and vocalist Danny Clinton, both of whom are listed in Tiger King's credits, but Joe guarded this secret fiercely. Producer Rick Kirkman told Vanity Fair of Joe's musical ruse, it was absolutely ridiculous. One time, Joe got a little drunk and high, and we actually coaxed him into singing part of one of the songs. He couldn't even hold a tune. It was so ludicrous. It was a big joke within the crew and staff that it wasn't him singing in the videos, but he was damned insistent that anyone and everyone, including us and my studio crew, knew that it was him. So, yeah, as we suspected, because he sings like live in one of the scenes and it sounds awful and terrible and not like what it sounds like in the music videos, which are just horrific.
Well, yeah. I mean, I want to reference something, but I feel it's a spoiler.
Well, we're in the spoiler section, so you can talk about it.
Okay,
now.
so like at Travis's like funeral, memoriam, whatever. Remember, he had like sang and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and he just doesn't sound like he sounds in his music video. He sounds like a Kenny Chesney.
Yeah.
Kind of right? And
yeah. And you know what was weird? That was, by the way, that was the moment that I was like, it's so sad to say this, but that was the moment when I was like, oh, this is really good. When the poor guy, what's his name, Travis? Mm-hmm. When he kills himself, because we're both sitting there, we're watching this show. We both, our jaws dropped. And I don't know if you noticed this, but neither of us moved for like a minute and a half as it was happening. Because you don't see him kill himself, but you do see one of the other guys' reactions to him killing himself.
The campaign manager.
Right. It was the campaign manager. And seeing the campaign's manager reaction and him talking over it, him voicing it over in an interview later, it was so surreal and it was so crazy to see. And it wasn't like, oh, great, this is good now. But it was like, oh, my God, like this whole... I felt like the first 3 or 4 episodes was just like this catty back and forth between Joe and what was the woman's name?
Carol.
And it lost me. You know, like episode 4 really lost me. The first episode was good. 2 and 3 were okay. Episode 4 drags on a bit and they just kind of drag it out. And it had gotten, the fighting between them got so bad. And like, when you're watching this, you don't really like Joe Exotic and you don't really like Carol, and they both have flaws and they both like have issues and you both disagree with some of their things that they're both saying, and they're just fighting with each other. I got so fatigued from that and so tired. It's like watching your parents fight. It's like you don't care. You just want it to be over. You know, they're both wrong. They're both right. You just want it to be over. So I kind of hit this fatigue in episode 4, and it got a little depressing and the whole sideshow aspect of it. But episodes 5, 6, and 7 bring in this whole like reality, and you're kind of like, wow, like some of these things are unfortunate. Some of these things are bad, and it just, to me, it made it like kind of must-see TV watching. I don't know. That's how I felt about it.
I kind of feel like the first episodes before Travis's death were just like, oh, this cannot be real. This is not real. This can't be happening.
Yeah.
It's not. It's like you think it's like reality TV that's like not real.
It's like Jerry Springer. It's like how you used to watch Jerry Springer.
And then Travis dies and you're like, oh, like it's an emotion, and you feel like, oh my God, this is like he killed himself. Like they're like, oh, you don't know if it's like this. Some are saying it was an accident, and some are saying that he was just so depressed and all these things, and he killed himself. But it's like you were not expecting to have an emotion, a sadness through the show, because the first 4 you were like, oh my God, this can't be real. Like these people cannot be acting like this. This cannot be happening in this country.
Yeah.
It's like so like out there.
Yeah. And
that's the one thing that got me so mad in that show. In all the episodes, the one thing that got me really mad was like Travis's mother. Like she out of like everyone, I'm like, she's at the top of the list.
What do you mean? How so?
She just got me so mad because she was just willing to let him go, like do all those things as long as he was happy.
Yeah.
Like, he was happy. Like you were happy your kid was a meth head? Like what's going on here?
Well,
she worked there.
She was there, and the weird thing is, like, again, the vibe, like, just to reiterate and back up what you were saying, the vibe of the first few episodes are so cartoonish and like, you know, Springerish, and you can't believe it, and it's all fun and games, and you've seen some of the memes online, and so you're like, oh, this is whatever, you know, and then in episode 5 everything gets real, and now you're like, holy cow, like, look at all this stuff.
It got real when, was it Saf lost her arm, like, you know, it kind of got real, but this, like,
that was a real,
that really like hit you.
Yeah, that was a real moment when she loses her arms, but then it becomes comical when Joe Exotic is in the office and he goes, I'll never recover from this financially. And then it becomes comical again. And then the fact that she
went
like
back to work like 3 days later or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of nuts. So the show ends, and here's like the weird part, because you watch and you're like, well, Carol Baskin is pretty flawed, but obviously Joe Exotic is flawed. And then they start introducing you to all these other characters like Joe Lawler and the long-haired guy who was on the jet ski. I forget what his name is.
Oh, God.
You start to see all these other characters come in, and nobody is right. And then you and I were talking about this when we had lunch before, which was the fact that, like, you know, they put Joe Exotic in jail and he gets convicted for trying to kill Carol Baskin. And what we were talking about at lunch before was kind of interesting, I thought, which is kind of like, yes, he did these things that were incorrect, but at the same time, all these other people that all did bad things and all took part in the bad thing that Joe Exotic got sent to jail for, all just kind of sold out first and put it all on him. And how right is that? Like, does he deserve to be in jail? Well, yeah, probably, because he did those things. But the fact that all those other guys got to walk free is kind of messed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the story that just came out today, again, this is 2 big stories today for Tiger King. First, the singing, we find out that Joe Exotic's really Milli Vanilli. And second, Joe Exotic just filed a $94 million civil rights lawsuit from prison against the U.S. government. So this just came... So this literally just came in today. the series, talking about the series here. Here's the article that we're looking at. Netflix series is a key player filed in the $94 million federal civil rights lawsuit from prison against multiple government agencies and his former business partners 3 days prior to the docuseries dropping. According to court documents, Maldonado Passage, who's Joe Exotic, is representing himself and wants $78.8 million for 18 years of research, loss of personal property, and the care for 200 generic tigers. The former zookeeper also wants $15 million for false arrest, false imprisonment, discrimination, malicious prosecution, selective enforcement, and death of his mother, Shirley Schreibervogel. In the lawsuit, Maldonado Passage alleges that Baskin used confidential informant James Garriston, former business partner Jeffrey Lowe, and a federal wildlife agent to entrap him in 2 bogus murder-for-hire schemes. Lowe, who currently owns the Greater Wynwood Exotic Animal Park and appeared in the docuseries, is also accused by Maldonado Passage of setting the former gubernatorial candidate to steal his zoo. So that was another plot point, that Lowe came in to just steal his zoo. Joe Exotic runs for president and then runs for governor. Actually finishes 3rd in the governor's race, which was kind of amazing. He had like 20% of the vote, which just goes to show you the disarray of politics in Oklahoma right now, that Joe Exotic was able to scoop up 20% of the vote.
Weren't there only like 3 people running?
Yeah. Well, I think there was more than that at first, but yeah, there was basically, it was a 3-person race and he finished 3rd, but he still got a good chunk of that vote.
Okay.
Which was crazy. What do you think about this? Do you think, I think he kind of has a case, and I think we're going to be hearing about this case for the next like couple of years as this plays out.
Yes, because I do think that, one, I was going to ask who the lawyer is that took over this case, but obviously he's doing this all on his own.
Right.
2, I do think that the guy, James, the one with the little page boy haircut, and is it Jeff Lowe?
Yeah.
I do think that they will like in on everything with him and then sold him out. And then I think that they like set him up. Like the guy, he gave the money to the guy that was working there. What's his name? John?
I don't remember what his name, the bald guy.
And he took the money.
Yeah. In the show, if you skipped it, if you didn't watch it and you don't care that we're doing all the spoilers here, this guy, Jeffrey Lowe, basically pays one of his employees that he brought in to work at Joe Exotic's farm to go and kill this woman, Carol Baskin, in Tampa. The guy takes the money and then he disappears and they don't know where he goes, right? And then where he said he never made it.
No, he like chickened out. He went to South Carolina. He went to like strip clubs and stuff, went back on drugs. Like,
But when he's even saying that, do you even believe him? Because it's entirely possible that if he didn't stop off and get drunk one night, he probably would have went to Tampa to kill this woman. Who knows?
Yeah, no. And I think that's so wrong. He took the money. Even if he didn't, like, in his mind, he didn't intend to, he took the money, which means that you remember how they said if no money was exchanged,
right,
that they couldn't do anything? Money was exchanged for it. So why is now...
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the weird part. Remember? Because they were trying to set him up to pay an agent, an undercover agent, and he didn't go along with it. And then they went back and was like, oh, wait a second. He had already tried to give money to this employee. And then it was like, it was really kind of sketchy how it all came together. So then they had this plot to pay to kill this woman. And then they added on top of that all these animal charges to kind of get him convicted for a long period of time. So I definitely can see this point of like where they stretched and reached as much as they could. And again, they're relying on the testimony and the stories of these liars that were involved and there to begin with, you know?
And con artists.
Yeah.
Like, let's be realistic about like who they are.
I mean, the one thing that you can take solace in is the fact that they said that there's an even bigger ongoing investigation on Jeffrey Lowe, and that's probably why he was able to go free You know what I mean? And not go in there because they're already working on something much bigger for him, which I could totally see happening. There is nothing about that guy that doesn't look like he's going to wind up in prison eventually.
Yeah, no. Especially with that wardrobe. Definite. I'm sorry, those I don't know how old the man is, but he's not in a boy band. He's not like he just
he was
like,
wearing
this is what I
jeans.
look at. Right? And they had like rips and that, like,
yeah.
Like grow up, dude.
What's the store that sells those jeans? Like, not American Eagle, but like, what's like that poshy Armani Exchange or Abercrombie? Yeah, like any one of those mall stores.
You remember French Connection?
Yeah.
Like like he just looks like I just
the jeans bothered you. The thing that bothered me more was the bandana and the hat. That I'm wearing a bandana and then a hat above the bandana. Look, a baseball cap on top of the bandana. That's
I don't get it.
That's not a good look for anybody.
No, how like okay, can we talk about Joe Exotic's? I mean, he had like multiple husbands, but the first one
without the teeth?
Without the teeth, he bought you guns, he bought you everything. He couldn't buy you teeth or a t-shirt or a shirt to wear.
Yeah, well, they lost the teeth with all the drugs they were doing.
Okay.
Which is kind of the crazy part about all of this is like he lost this case against Carol Baskin, which he owed her, what, $1 million? Yeah. He couldn't pay her. He started taking on all these partners and owing money. The zoo, the operation costs for the zoo, and they stopped doing as well because he was paying attention more to himself, you know, than anything else. Was weird. And then on top of that, they start doing drugs. Like it just so.
They were always, that's why they loved him. And that's why they were straight men who didn't care because they just wanted like their drugs. And I can't comprehend that. I can't get with that.
Yeah, it was so bizarre. And the thing, I'll tell you what, the thing that stuck with me the most out of all of this was, and these documentary series, they always have something at the end like that, like kind of gives you like an update since they last filmed. The thing that I feel like I will never forget out of all of this crazy stuff that we watched was the facts that they put up on the screen at the end, which was there are 10,000 tigers and cats and, you know, in captivity in the United States of America.
5,000 to 10,000. Yeah.
And there's only 4,000 there's only 4,000 tigers that exist in the wilderness free.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's more tigers in captivity now than there are, and tigers are going extinct. These cats are going extinct.
Well, that's the problem is that once they are in captivity, you cannot put them back into the wild because they won't survive.
Yeah. And
so you ruin them.
Didn't you also find it strange the amount of people that wanted to pet these cats? Like,
yeah.
I get it. Like, who doesn't want to pet an animal? I totally understand that, you know. But petting a tiger is a little bizarre. But the amount of people and what they were willing to do, like Joe's two husbands were not gay, but both wound up marrying him because A, they had no other options or nowhere to go in life, and B, he let them pet the cats. Like letting them pet the cats was the constant between Joe's husbands, Joe's employees who all worked there and only made $100 a week and lived in rat-infested quarters. Like they were all just like, well, at least we get to play and pet with the cats. Like I couldn't believe how important that was to these people, that they were living the way they were living under these conditions, under this guy who was crazy, just so they could play and pet with the cats.
Yeah, it's kind of like they become, and I hate to compare it to this, but they become like a service. Like, you know how we have like the service dogs?
Yeah.
Like it becomes like that to them.
Like it's the calming effect that gets them through everything.
A calming effect for an animal that will maul you to death. Like it will take off. It took off that girl's arm. It will kill you. I don't. And what really was upsetting is that they breed them, and it said it in the movie. They breed them, but then after a certain time, when they're not cubs anymore, they're not really useful to them anymore because people can't pet them and can't do things with them when they get to a certain age.
Yeah.
And that's the sad part. It's like, what do you do with them after? Like,
and they wound up killing them, which was that's the whole problem with all this. So Frank said it yesterday that him and Aaron didn't want to watch it because of the cruelty to the animals, and the cruelty to animals realistically takes a back seat in this documentary because you find yourself getting so lost in the characters and their outlandish behavior, but you don't really realize, though they do point it out, but they don't really like kind of throw it in your face. The cubs, when the babies, the baby tigers, they go for so much money because you can charge so much because people want to pet the cubs most because they're the safest and they're the cutest. And then they grow older, and then the older they get, there's a certain timeline in their lives where after they pass that time, like you were just saying, they become unsafe around all people.
Yeah, it's like 6 months. It's insane.
Was it that short? Yeah.
Yeah, I
think you're right.
It's very long because they get big very fast, and I think it's such a small span of time. And then once they get past that 6 months, they're huge, they're big, they're eating a lot, they're expensive. Do you think they want to have all of these animals that it costs so much to feed, and them not be making a profit off of them? And that's the sad part, is because they're breeding them so that they can make profits off of them.
Yeah. That was really sad. And they found a whole bunch of bones, remember, at the end, that they had just
like 5 of them.
And he admitted to euthanizing those tigers, but he was like, they were sick, and what was I supposed to do? And it was really strange. And the recap, go ahead.
So the one thing that I noticed, so he said that he carried a gun around for like safety because it like all these things. But at one point, one of the lions attacked him, because someone put cologne on his foot. And he used his gun, not to shoot at it, but to shoot.
Yeah,
so
he did.
Did you really have your gun on you for like safety in case Carol or some of the other people? No, you had it because you probably knew you might need it because one of the large tigers, lions, whatever you have that's grown could attack you, and you needed to use that.
Yeah.
And he proved it. So he proved himself that he was lying.
He did shoot. He was trying to shoot that tiger when he really got pulled. He just missed. He missed the first time.
He knew.
The second time was like a warning shot, but that first time he was shooting to save his own life.
And they were following him. They were like following him towards that door to get out. Okay.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yay! She did pee-pees. All right. Do you want to leave it there at the celebration of Cece doing pee-pees?
Well,
Did you have any other thoughts on Tiger King? Any other final thoughts?
I thought it was great. I would love to. I want to see what happens to Doc, the polygamy, who's got 7 wives. Girlfriends, whatever you want to. I want to know, because it said that they raided him. I would love to get see them now, what's happening right now with them, what's happening with Jeff. Like, they should just go back and see it. I would definitely love.
Well, the people who made the Fire Festival documentary are the ones who also produced this one. And like this feels like I brought it up yesterday with Frank. I said it's like Honey Boo Boo or John and Kate plus 8. Like, I feel like we are going to be stuck with Joe Exotic for the rest of our lives. It might not be during a regular reality show, but I'm sure there are going to be updates, and there's just going to be news stories. Like, I'm sure Netflix is going to okay another documentary, in a year or 2 or 3, whatever, however long this plays out. Or if the Doc Antle thing picks up, they'll be there for that. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to be a part of our culture now.
No one really knew. Like, I never heard about him. I didn't know about him. If you didn't live near him or watch the news that like covered him and all that, you didn't know who he was. Now people in New York know who he was. Massachusetts, everywhere knows who he is.
Yeah.
And now it's just going to continue.
Yay!
Yay for potty training.
Potty training. Yeah, it's weird because they showed it in the documentary. They showed in the documentary that he was they had him featured on John Oliver, and I remember watching that episode, but I had forgotten about him just as quick as I saw him because it was who cares? But you're right. Now it's going to be,
Yeah, that's it. Everyone knows. Everyone watches Netflix.
Yeah.
We, religiously we watch it.
We have no choice. But that's the thing. Like, I wonder if this would have been as big if we weren't all quarantined right now and just starved and hungry for content. I don't know.
I think we all would have watched it, but it would have taken longer.
Yeah.
People we don't have a lot to do. So that's why everyone went like the first couple of weeks, but it could have taken a couple months for people to see it.
But it was like wildfire because between us having all the time and looking for stuff and everybody being on social and the memes starting to take off, like I feel like
they are fabulous.
Yeah.
Whoever
I feel like
comes up with these geniuses.
I feel like we even saw it 2 or 3 weeks behind a lot of people, but it's still like we're still on this wave of this like thing. Like it's people are still going to be tuning in. It's number one on Netflix. I think it's going to be number one for a couple of weeks at least.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Cuddles. It was nice having you as a co-host for today.
Thanks. I'm going to go pick up some blocks.
All right, you have fun
try
with
to
that.
get them taken up. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. There goes Cuddles, everybody. Mom of the year right there. Just balancing it all together. Co-hosting, dealing with me and my garbage, and raising our 2 kids. Potty trained baby Cece in the last couple of weeks. And she's also doing the homeschooling thing too. There's just not much that I've got to give her an award or something. I got to do something nice for her when this is all said and done. For now, we're doing nice social distancing things for one another, dinners in the house and everything. But we got to do something nice for Cuddles when this all wraps up. Thanks so much for watching this episode entirely. Appreciate you guys being here. It's so nice to be doing the podcast again. And, don't forget to rate and review on Apple Podcasts if you're watched there. If you follow us on Facebook or YouTube, remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow and like the videos on Facebook. And if you can share it on your Twitter or your Facebook, it is so, so appreciated. Everything that we do lives on AnthonyOnAir.com, and we'll see you next time. Have a great one.